Vyari Dasdi, BAPS Swami Narayan Sanstha, and Venerable Banagala Upatisha Nayaka Thero, President of the Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka. Mr. Combe Carpentier, who is Distinguished Fellow at India Foundation, he will be moderating this session. I now request Professor Geo Leong Lee to come on the dais and speak about late Professor S.R. Bhatt for 2 minutes, please.
Hello, namaste. I am Professor Lee from South Korea. It saddens and empties me to realize that I can no longer see him, Professor S.R. Bhatt, even when I'm in India. I met him in 1986 in Madras when I was doing MPhil degree course in Madras University, Radhakrishnan Institute for Advanced Studies in Philosophy. And then again, I met him as his student of a PhD. I did my PhD degree course under his guidance. He was like a father to me. Every time he was kind and guide. I learned under his guidance what life is. Yes, really I learned from him. So today, I would like to dedicate a song imbued with my soul to honor him. Maybe now he's here and he can listen to my song and understand. 돌아 누워도 찾아오는 환장할 기침은 언제나 끝이 나려는지 밥그릇에 천길 낭떠러지 속으로 비굴한 내 한 몸 던져버린 오늘 삶은 언제나 가시 박힌 손톱의 아픔이라고 아무리 다짐을 놓고 놓아보아도 별자리마저 제 집을 찾아가는 새벽녘까지 내 마른 기침은 멈출 줄 모른다. Several times I sang this song in his presence, so maybe he knows his song, this song, and listen and understand, to serve with love. I dedicated my song. Okay, thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Rajiv Bhatt, son of late Professor S.R. Bhatt, to please come on dais and please felicitate Swami Govindadev Giriji Maharaj. I now request Swami Mitranandji, member of the organizing committee of Dharma Dhamma Conference 2024, to please come on dais and felicitate Swami Brahmavihari Dasji. I now request Professor Dilip Charan from Gujarat University to please come on dais and felicitate Venerable Banagala Theroji. This keynote session will be moderated by Mr. Combe Carpentier, who is a distinguished fellow with India Foundation. I now hand over the proceeding to Mr. Combe Carpentier.
Venerable spiritual teachers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, professors, friends, it's my honor and privilege to introduce these three very advanced and remarkable spiritual masters this evening in this session that in a way starts the real, I would almost say technical proceedings as part of this conference. Before I request them to give their words of wisdom, I would like to say that when we decided to choose this theme, cosmology, which is sometimes not well understood in terms of its practical applications, we kept in mind three things that have happened recently, so relatively recently in the field of science. The first is the increasing awareness that the universe is inseparable from consciousness. human consciousness, of course, but consciousness in general, which extends to all sentient beings, and even to those we do not regard as sentient. The second, which has become very clear with the recent observations recorded through the James Webb Space Telescope, is that there is a universe far beyond what we expected to find, and most of our theories, including the Big Bang, are now in question and probably have to be revised, if not at least partly discarded. Which essentially means that the very concept of the universe that we found in the ancient scriptures of Dharma Dhamma are turning out to be extraordinarily relevant to our growing understanding of what reality and the universe is about. We saw on screen in the last few hours some of the shlokas and sutras, including from the Nisadiya Sukta of the Rig Veda, and we find ourselves now in this environment, in scientific environment, in which we have to go back to wisdom in that traditional sense, and not just trust instruments, but rather rely on consciousness to understand itself. And the third, which has also become clear if you have followed some of the recent pronouncements coming from certain official authorities, particularly military ones, but also purely scientific ones, that human beings are not the highest form of life in the universe, and even on our Earth, and there are much more advanced life forms, much more intelligent and much older life forms, which are not only somewhere else in the universe, but also here, and that they play a direct role in our condition and in our evolution. This is something which all the Dhamma traditions are aware of. So I leave you with these three opening statements, and I would now like to request Param Pujya Swami Govindev Ji Maharaj to please tell us his own, the message that he has to give us with regard to this growing awareness of the merger of ageless spirituality with science in its current form. Thank you.
वर्णानाम अर्थसंघानाम रसानां छंदसामपि मंगलानां च कर्तारौ वंदे वाणी विनायकौ नमामि सद्गुरुं शांतं सच्चिदानंद विग्रहं पूर्ण ब्रह्म परानंदम ईशम आनंदी वल्लभम आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसंपदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्. We are all very much fortunate that we are participating this 8th International Dharma Dhamma Conference. Actually, as I think, Dharma and Dhamma, though these are two different terms, what they suggest is the only one thing. We may call water jal, neer, toya. The substance is the same, the names are different. In the same way, Dharma tradition and Dhamma tradition both have sprung from this holy land of Bharat only, and they are really the solace of mankind. If humanity is to be saved, these traditions must be protected, propagated, and they must be taken to every nook and corner of the whole world. Really speaking, you may call it dharma or you may call it dhamma, but actually it is the balance, it is the name of the balance amongst the self, the society, the nature and the ultimate. And that protects humanity, that protects our life. And therefore it is said, dharmo dharete prajaha, dharanena, dharanat dharmamityahu, dharmo dharete prajaha. Now this year, we have to contemplate upon the cosmology of these two traditions. Cosmology is really the science of contemplating upon the origin and development of the universe. The structure of the universe, the origin of the universe, and the development of the universe. And when we think of this and we look at the dharma literature, the Vedic literature, we are really astonished to see abundance of literature of this topic. Right from Vedas, we see the thinking about origin of the universe. When we were sitting there, we were looking at the stage and the Nasadiya Sukta from Rig Veda was being displayed. That was the first query made by mankind about the origin of the universe. Kuto visruttir iyama babhuva. The Rishi asks, where from has the world come? Where from has the universe emerged? And then he contemplates in samadhi, na sadasi, no sadasi, tadanim. The whole Nasadiya Sukta as a very beautiful, lucid and philosophical description of cosmology. When we come to Purush Sukta, again, in Nasadiya Sukta, there is some secrecy, there is some mystical sense which is very, very difficult to understand. But when we come to Purush Sukta of Rig Veda or Purush Sukta of any Veda, it appears in all the Vedas, all the four Vedas, we see how the cosmic picture has been given. But before coming to that, I will come to the popular theory of Sankhyas, of cosmology, because that is most popular amongst the scientists, the intellectuals. Sankhyas divide the world between Purusha and Prakriti, the matter and the consciousness. And the consciousness does nothing, it is just consciousness, and the matter is made up of three elements: Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna. The light, the action, and the inertia. And when the imbalance of the original element happens, then the cosmic energy is set on creation. And that whole creation is beautifully described in Sankhya Karika or Sankhya literature. Prakritir mahan tato ahankara tasmad ganasya shodasakaha Tasmadapi Shodasakat Panchabhutani, etc., etc. I'm not going to describe it I'm not going to elaborate it. The same has been accepted by Yoga Sutras also, but they have accepted the one thing, why the Prakriti is said to create, and according to Yoga Sutras, we see it's divine will, because they accept Ishvara. But when we come to Nyaya, they accept the theory of Paramanu, Vaisheshikas, again Paramanu. When we come to Mimamsakas, it is just like Buddhas, they regard karma also. And when we come to Panini or Patanjali, Panini, it is only the voice, the noise, the primordial word that has been the base of the creation. But all this has been described in the beautiful procedure of Panchikarana. The 5 elements, how the basic elements are created, how the basic elements are intermingled, and how the world appears. All this is described in these 6 systems, some of the systems. But the whole picture has been given by Purusha Sukta, and there we find how Purusha Evedam Sarvam, it's only the divinity, the divine power only is there, and how it takes the shape of the world, how the world emerges out of that we find in better way in Upanishad. Tasmad Atmana Akasha Sambhutaha, Akashad Vayuhu, Vayo Ragnihi, Agne Rapaha, Adhya Prithvi, Prithvibhyo Annam, Annat Purushaha. This is the emergence of the universe through 5 elements and then coming to the creation of human beings. But really speaking, this is only the extension of one element, of one source that is called Brahma. And therefore, according to me, the best description given of cosmology in our system, this Vedic system, is in Yoga Vasishtha. It's a theory of Brahmavad. Sarvam Khalidam Brahma Neha Nanasti Kinchana. The whole creation is nothing but an appearance in a different way of the ultimate reality. When we come to Dhamma theory, it's very difficult to find the literature of cosmology there, because Bhagavan Buddha, Tathagata Buddha, has not told anything about this cosmology, how the world has come out, how it has emerged. He has said nothing. And therefore, we find some sutras in the Mahayana scriptures and in Yogacara scriptures, and then when we intermingle these sutras, some cosmic theory can be told, which can be the Dhamma theory of cosmology. And in that, again, it is temporal as well as spatial. In temporal cosmology, we have to see the procedure on the timeline, time stream, and again, we have to see the spatial cosmology horizontally and vertically. But all this world which is appearing in front of us, it is true or not? Is it true in its own sense or not? There are different opinions. And in Yogacara system, they have described on 3 layers. They call it the Parikarma, Parikalpita and Parilakshita. One is Paratantra, the cosmic scene which we are seeing is dependent upon so many dimensions, and then only we are seeing, we are following it. We are experiencing it with our senses. Then they say the second stage is Parikalpita. There is world. It's only imagination, imagined. And the third stage, they say, Parilakshita. It is experienced only by those that have become Buddha, that have experienced the ultimate stage of Samadhi, the reality. When I look at these 3 layers, these 3 stages, the Paratantra, Parikalpita and Parilakshita, I remember the 3 Satyas of Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya. They have stated there are 3 Sattatrayavad. 3 Sattas are there. 3 stages of existence. 3 stages of experiencing the existence. One is Pratibhasik, the dream-like. One is Vyavaharik, of the whole world. And one is Paramarthik. Ultimately, the world as world is not there, but it is experienced when you have realized the ultimate truth. And therefore, Bhagavan Gaudapada has said, Prapancho yadi vidyeta nivartetana samshayaha. If Prapancha had been there, it would have disappeared. It is not there actually. Then what is there? It is my own expression. It is my own extension. And therefore, I remember one very beautiful shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, Atma Vasidam Vishwam. What is the world? It's my own extension. And therefore, we must experience that the observed and the observer are one. When we experience this, that the observed and the observer are one, it's nothing but my own extension. Kakkena pashyet. At that time, we cannot hate anybody. At that time, we cannot do anything against anybody. At that time, the moral values are not to be taught. They become our nature because we cannot go against ourselves. And this is called first Atmopamya Buddhi of Bhagavad Gita, and then Swabhavo Bhaja, it is Swabhav. That becomes their nature because nobody can go against himself. And if I see myself in the whole world, nobody can. I cannot go against the world. In the same way, when the layer of consciousness is heightened, then there shall be the whole peace. And this message of Bhagavan Tathagata Buddha, this message of Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, this message of Vedanta, Veda, the Dhamma and the Dharma system, it is one. And therefore, if we look at the scenario of the world, it appears that today what is most required is the propagation of this view, this Dharma and Dhamma. They must be aided also with proper propagation, strength, and with systematic efforts. That is what is required by the ailing world. The disastrous situation today in the world is demanding it most, and I think such conferences are required more and more. But not only the conferences, but also meeting unofficially, working together and understanding mutually and going ahead. That is what is required. That alone shall bring light, peace, compassion, harmony to the world. And therefore, whosoever the India Foundation, the Gujarat University, they have organized this conference, I thank them very much. I congratulate them, and I congratulate you too. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. When we discover the unity of all things, we cannot go against ourselves, and therefore we are at one with everything. And whether the world is a contingent appearance, which essentially is non-local and therefore non-dual, that is something which you have reminded us of. I would like now to request the words of wisdom from Parampujiya Swami Brahma Viharidas from the Swaminarayan great spiritual tradition. He reminds us also in his life work with a background in the Western science and his extensive social work, that just like the other spiritual masters on stage here, he brings together service to society with the insight that is provided for the highest reality to be conceived and perceived and absorbed by people all over the world. There is no difference in that sense between the social work and the enlightenment work. They are one and the same. Swamiji?
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. With these ancient prayers for peace, and also in the divine presence of Bhagwan Swaminarayan and all the great avatars who have continued to bless our land and the world. Also in the equally divine presence of my Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj, whom I feel is watching me, my Guru Mahant Swami Maharaj, and all the great saints and sages who have blessed this earth, and someone whom I respect very deeply, Govind Dev Giriji, very deeply, and Venerable Theruji, whom I have met across the world at many different times and places, but also in the most auspicious presence of all the scholars, because I feel that today is a gathering which has not just been made possible by India Foundation and the Gujarat University, but also by the education and the contribution that each one of you have made to this field. And I deeply respect that and feel this is a gathering of great minds and also beautiful souls. Great minds can be scientific, beautiful souls have to be spiritual. The title of this conference, Cosmology in Dharma Dhamma traditions, itself suggests that there is a point where both science and spirituality stop competing and start completing each other. And this tradition, which has always been a part of our great Hindu faith and also the Buddhist tradition, is being lived or recreated in a different way, in a different dimension through this conference. So I congratulate each one of you for being present here and giving us the opportunity to share our ideas. Just recently, as I was leaving Johannesburg, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but this is something that's come in my heart as I had come. One doctor friend of mine, he asked me that, Swami, but why are you cutting short the program of Johannesburg and going straight to India? Ram Madhavji, who's been a close friend, and obviously one of my other friends, Mitranand Swami, all of you, as I came here, the question that was asked to me, each one of us should ask to ourselves. The doctor told me that, Swami, but why are you going to a conference on cosmology? What does it have to do, any relevance with the world? Don't get affronted. He added that if it was a conference on embryology, it has to do with life. Great. In these times, if it's a conference on virology, it's to do with disease and death. Very important. But cosmology, what relevance does it have to our lives? Well, I wanted to share with him, I could not. But once I meet him again, I will share with him. While we respect every field of knowledge on this earth, and research and studies in any field contributes to the well-being of the world, I personally believe that research and study on cosmology contributes to the wisdom of this world. We can create a good world, but without creating a wise world, what's the point? And it does not just end there, because when we study the stars up in heaven, out there, it does help us to become better humans down here. When we understand our origins, when we understand our insignificance, when we understand where we came from and where we are going, it will give us a greater opportunity to make the most of our years on this earth. So don't ever feel in your heart that cosmology is not relevant to the daily lives of people. It is. How, you would ask me, would that be? Well, there is a simple difference between science, pure science, and spiritual science. Pure science is studying the world around you, and as scientists began to study the world around them, slowly they started understanding that what really creates the impact in the world around you is the world within you. So after studying cosmology and so many different types, science has slowly started coming to the study of the mind and the heart. Well, the spiritual science is slightly different. We began by studying our mind and our hearts and our soul. And our great rishis and founders, they started studying the stars, the constellations, and the cosmos, and trying to understand how they affected to the mind. So while cosmology comes from the outside to the inside into the study of the soul. Spiritual science begins from the inside and guides you on how to study the skies and the stars. And that's perhaps the reason, very simple reason, while we know that all our scriptures, I don't want to repeat anything that the great speaker before me said, but that's why perhaps our scriptures and both Buddhist and Hindu traditions are completely filled with references of cosmology. You look at the Nasadiya Sutra just explained to us now. In just 7 verses, can you ever imagine, in just 7 verses, it talks about what was there, what wasn't there, what came and what came after. And it explains to us one thing, that because there was nothing there, there was an idea. And there was a feeling. From that idea and feeling, the world has come to be. Now more and more scientists are saying that the universe is less and less like a machine and more like a thought. Our Rishi Munis already guided us onto that idea. I don't want to repeat things, but I want to say that our scriptures, be proud of what you're doing. Our scriptures are completely overflowing with such beautiful ideas. In Brihadanakya Upanishad, the conversation between sage Yagnavalkya and Gargi, don't just look at it literally. When Gargi asks Yagnavalkya that the earth is immersed in water, what is water immersed in? He says the air. What is air immersed in? He says space. What is space immersed in? He says Gandharva Loka. What is Gandharva Loka immersed in? He says Aditya Loka. What is Aditya Loka immersed in? He says Chandra Loka. In that way, he goes in making it finer and finer and finer till he arrives to the idea of Brahma Loka. Just because science is not used to the terminology of Gandharva Loka, Aditya Loka, just because the terminologies are different, try and understand thousands of years ago, when Hindu sadhus could discuss in open public, the finer elements of the world, as you discuss stock prices, as we discuss medicines, as we discuss news. Look at the enlightened society that they could discuss finer and finer elements of the universe in casual conversations. Does not that tell us that we should to look into our scriptures more and more to find more and more that science can be satisfied? But it doesn't end there. I want to also tell you that whenever you are confused, whenever we are confused and we are filled with doubts, after the Gita, when Arjuna was still confused in the moral laws of life, one thing Lord Krishna did to show him the Vishwaswarup. Lord Krishna showed him the planets, the orbits, the galaxies, the multiple universes within himself. And that's why it says Arjuna's doubts were dispelled and dissolved. Does it not tell us that if you study cosmology, in one way you will make better human beings? So I want to tell you, the research and the work that you're doing is not just theoretical. It helps us create better human beings on this earth. And when we understand that, we will be able to find different planes. Kathopanishad talks about Nachiketa. And we simply take it as a story that he goes to the doors of the god of death, Yamaraj. But can you imagine that this little boy had the power of his mind, whether you call it transcendence, the ability to travel through loks, that means different realms, and then knock on the doors of death before death called. Don't you think this is interesting in a way of traveling through different realms and galaxies or places? I don't know. we need to go back into the scriptures and try and understand them in a more scientific way, not just use the rulers of science and judge our scriptures. I think when we understand that, we will be able to understand what cosmology does. A real scientist who is just a pure cosmologist, he will definitely return to Dharma and Dhamma. And a real spiritual person who is an expert in Dharma and Dhamma will easily be able to grasp the beautiful science of cosmology. They are inseparable. Let me take you through a generation quickly. That there are people who are atheists. There were people who are theists and people who are agnostic. And yet when they just looked at the stars, don't undermine and undervalue of what you're doing. Immanuel Kant, the famous German philosopher, who tried to reduce everything in this world to just sensibility and reason. In a book called The Critic of Pure Reason, Immanuel Kant, he writes a 600-page book that systematically denies the need and necessity of God or spirituality. And then casually he speaks that all this after I've written it, while I'm sitting in my garden, my attendant brings me a cup of coffee, and I'm drinking that coffee in a late evening and night. And when I look at the stars, I suddenly feel that there must be a higher consciousness. He writes that two things keep increasingly me in admiration and awe: the starry skies and the moral laws within me. And when I connect the two, I immediately find the consciousness of my existence. Without connecting cosmology and Dharma and Dhamma, you will not be able to satisfactorily answer why you are. It's a very critical connection. And it just doesn't end there. He just gazed at the stars without any research. We have people who have worked on the laws of motion, Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton says that gravity can explain why planets are in motion, but nothing can explain why motion is in motion. For that, we need to understand that there is a divine force. And he writes, God governs all the laws of the universe. God knows all, and God knows what is to be done. When a person who sees the skies feels morality and existence, when a scientist who studies motion feels that there has to be some creator, but when a person who adds another dimension to our understanding, Albert Einstein, he came forth and added the fourth dimension, the space-time continuum. And Albert Einstein did not believe in God as a conventional God as we believe or religious people believe in. I need to really ask you, Einstein himself says that God does not play dice. He does not gamble. He supported this idea of an intelligent creation. He could not identify God because they were beyond his senses. But then he also writes, quote unquote, everyone seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced of a spirit manifest in the laws of the universe, a spirit which is vastly superior to that of man, and in the face of which we are humbled. Imagine a person who did not accept God as we accept, but still feel that the laws of cosmos were not accidental. They were created for some reason, where somebody says we don't know the creation and the reason. But we must understand that as we move, we find out that cosmology can help person to become a better person. How? I don't want to add anything to you because there's no point in preaching to the pundits. You already know more than me. There's no point in singing to the choir. You already sing better than me. But I want to encourage you that whatever you do as a keynote speaker, never underestimate what you do. There are 4 things I want to share very quickly, which your research should come up with. 1, it's not just enough in trying to bring a balance to science and spirituality. Number 1, the study of cosmology makes us smaller than small. The vastness of the universe. While the earth is a pale blue dot, just as Carl Sagan put it beautifully, that from the far expanse of space, earth is a pale blue dot. All our emperors and conquerors, all our kings and leaders, all our great people and saints and sinners, all our loved ones exist in that small dot, which is not even seen from the furthest part of the galaxies. It just makes us a little more humble, insignificant in the vastness of space. And I ask you, who can deny the fact that the earth needs a little bit of more humility and less of arrogance? While our leaders are going to war just for a drop of a pin, while there is aggression and arrogance, would not real cosmology help the world to become a more humble world? Your work is necessary, make it more humble. The second is, the study of cosmology will make you bigger than the big. Why, you might ask me? Science tells us there is this idea of stellar nuclear synthesis. That when the stars collided, galaxies collided, there is supernova explosions. Carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen, which are the elements that make our earth and make us, all were created in these collision of stars. So it makes us feel that what the stars are made of, we are made of the same elements. We are connected. And that is why perhaps Shvetaswara Upanishad, they say, Amrutasya putraha vayam. Translate it as we are the children of gods, fine. We are the children of immortals, fine. But we always say gods are on the stars. We can always say we are the children of the stars. We are literally made of the same material that our stars have been made of. That makes us interconnected, that makes us less lonely, that makes us bigger than the big, and that makes us less fearful. If you think that all the aliens outside in the world would be of the same material that you and me are made of, I don't think we need to fear aliens. We need to fear ourselves more than the aliens. I think, as Govind Dev Giriji put it forward, that we are the extensions of our purity and our impurity, then if we are pure, I think all life exists out there will always be friendly to human beings if we are pure. So the second thing it teaches us is bigger than the big. The third thing study of cosmology will teach us, even you, me, and everybody, is interconnectedness. But more than interconnectedness is interdependent. We are interdependent. The iron that flows through our blood, that absorbs oxygen and keeps our cells alive right now, was created in the stars. So if the stars have helped us breathe, if the sun helps us shine and warms, if the moon manages our moods and the waves of our ocean, of course, the microscopic plankton and the chlorophyll, everything is interconnected and interdependent. When we feel that we are interdependent to everybody else for our existence, it makes us more compassionate. Now tell me, the answer to climate change, yes, conferences are important, agreements are important, But the answer to climate change is change of our lifestyle and change of our attitude. When we are compassionate to nature, to air, to water, to everything around us, to our planets, we will be able to find solutions to the problems of the world. And lastly, as I leave you, I want to tell you that there can be the next step. I have no proof for this, but that's what the conference is all about. I have no reference for this. But I want to ask you, the conference will help you rediscover our past and deep discover our future. Science only talks about the future, it relegates the past. I want to tell you, you are spiritual-minded people, rediscover our past and deep discover our future. What do I mean? 50 years ago, would any of us would have believed there would be a digital revolution where everything would be digitized, everything we speak, see would be digitized? No. Would you have believed that there would be a virtual revolution, that virtual reality will become more real than real? Can you still believe that everything we do is stored in clouds, somewhere which is not physical, three-dimensional? Can you still believe? And now we are sitting on the cusp of AI, artificial intelligence. And I want to tell you, because I went to one of the biggest conferences on AI in Azerbaijan, and they say, you shall be able to download your dreams. That means you shall be able to induce dreams. There'll be a time where non-living artificial intelligence, simple calculations, algorithms, which are dead and non-living, will be able to control the living. Till now, the living have controlled machines. We have tilled the land. The living had called all the shots. Now the non-living will create and call all the shots. But come back to Govind Dev Giriji. In the living and the non-living, the Spirit of God is there. Isa vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. There will be no time or space to fear. But I want to say that if one can believe in digital, in artificial intelligence, in clouds, in virtual, I think the next great step would be astral. Let it sink. Astral communication, where a mind can communicate with a mind without the need of any technology. Our rishis had mastered it. Astral communication, when you can communicate with the planets, with the moon, without carbon fuel increasing the carbon footprint. Astral communication will give you the power to move in time. Just as we move in space, front, back, left and right, you'll be able to move in time in births and things like that. All this was mentioned in our scriptures, it still is. We believe in artificial intelligence, science and spirituality. If it unites, we will rediscover our past and deep discover our future. Why? Because we are capable. And in this conference, as all of you great scholars and great minds come together, please do not compete with each other, help complete one another. And what do I mean by that? Stop seeking solutions, learn to ask the right questions. If you ask the right questions, as the Nasadiya Sutra did, as Yagnavalkya did, as Bhagavan Swaminarayan did in the Vachanamrut, as Arjun does in the Gita, the basis of your questions will lead to solutions. Einstein often said, if I had a problem and my life hung upon it and I had only 1 hour to solve it, I will spend 55 minutes in asking the right questions. The answers will emerge in the last 5. Ask the right questions and do not hesitate to ask. Question yourself, question your theories, because the real experience of space helps you answer that. Eugene Cernan, the astronaut, who went to the moon in Apollo 10, he says, when I went to the moon and turned back and looked at the earth, my God, I felt all the beauty, all its majesty. I saw the earth hanging and spinning on its axis without falling through. That's the time I felt that there must be a creator and God. I doubted my theory, so when I went back again in Apollo 17 And when I tested my own theory, it became loud and clear that anybody who physically goes to the moon will definitely believe in God. It is like sitting in God's front porch and looking back at home, because the experience of space and cosmology is such. If you ask the right questions, you'll come there. My Guru Pramukh Swami always asks these 5 questions of cosmology. I'll leave you with that, and perhaps it might make our earth a little better. What nationality is the sun? Is it Russian, American, Indian, British? The sun is beyond a nation. It is there for those who want light. What religion does water belong to? Is it Christian, Muslim, Judaism, Buddhist? Water is beyond religion. It is there for those who want to drink. What color is air? Black, brown, yellow? Yellow is beyond race. Air is beyond race. It is there for those who want to breathe. What class does earth belong to? Higher, lower, middle? Earth is there for those who want to stand erect and walk proudly beyond class. And what race does space belong to? Just because we are exploring it, it belongs to us. The Devatas, the great Lokas, are already there beyond us. But just as all the 5 elements, earth, water, space, fire and air, are universal, owned by nobody and enjoyed by everybody, so is the Creator universal. If the universe is in such harmony, I think cosmology will teach us to live on this earth with greater harmony. So that's my answer to my friend doctor in Johannesburg. I hope you're listening, that cosmology is one science that is more relevant than perhaps all the science to make us humble and also less lonely. Thank you very much.
We have all heard a scintillating and transcendent talk, which has given us the essential guidelines for pursuing our work in the field of cosmology. And I will just comment with a very simple mathematical demonstration that if the universe is infinite, by definition, the universe, the infinity cannot be split, because any part of it is bound to be infinite too. And therefore, we are all, like all things, infinite as well, which is what the physics of fractals teaches us. I would now request the next speaker, Most Reverend Banakala Upatissa Mahanayake Thero, to give us the perspective of both major schools of Buddhism, because although he belongs, of course, to the Sri Lankan tradition, he has extensively worked and promoted and developed Buddhism in Japan, and therefore his background in that sense is universally Buddhist.
Good evening, everybody. Honorable Ratnasiri Vikramanayake, the Minister from Sri Buddha Sasana, Minister of Sri Lanka, Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Thailand, Dr. Supachai Perapulli, Secretary General of the Bodhigaya Vidyalaya Institute, Dr. Neeraj Gupta ji, Chancellor Gujarat University, और हमारे भारत और विदेश के हिंदू और बौद्ध भिक्षुगण, स्वामी गिरी गोविंद देव गिरी जी, स्वामी ब्रह्म विहारी दास जी, जो हम हमेशा, I met him very often in various countries. So, namaste everybody. I am pleased to be a part of keynote speaker today at the 8th DHARMA DHAMMA conference. Actually, though I was not very fit and well, when I heard DHARMA DHAMMA conference is going to be held in Gujarat, I thought somehow I must go and attend. Today there are many scholars from Sri Lanka. I hope that they may not know Hindi, but I prefer to say a few words in Hindi because I was born in Sri Lanka, but I can say I was brought up in India. Rather, I am Indian than the Sri Lankan. Well, the Dharma Dhamma you can see even on the stage itself. The Swamijis are Dharma and I represent Dhamma. Dharma Dhamma. And when I talk and when I think of Dharma Dhamma conference, I always remember the Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji. इसलिए कि जब स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती जी जब श्रीलंका गए, उस समय राम माधव जी भी थे. ये जो धर्म कॉन्फ्रेंस का जो विचार और ये वो स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती गुरु जी के थे. और सबसे पहले ये श्रीलंका से शुरू होने के बाद मध्य प्रदेश में किया. आज तक इंडिया फाउंडेशन इस कॉन्फ्रेंस को मनाते आ रहे हैं. उसके लिए मैं इंडिया फाउंडेशन का आभारी हूँ. ऐसे जो कॉस्मोलॉजी धर्म ट्रेडिशन जो है, धर्म किस तरफ से विश्व को इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहे हैं. मेरे ख्याल से मैं जब 6वीं 7वीं क्लास में पढ़ते थे भारत में और वाराणसी में, उस समय मैंने सुना पंचशील का सिद्धांत. पंचशील का सिद्धांत उसमें तो ये पंचशील का जो सिद्धांत है उसे मैं कह सकते हैं धम्म. उसमें भगवान बुद्ध ने ये बताया आम जनता को विश्व में पीसफुल रहने के लिए, टू लिव पीसफुली, one has to adopt Panchashil. That's called Panatipata Veramani Sikha Padan Samadhyami, Adinnadana Veramani Sikha Padan Samadhyami, Kamesu Michachara Veramani Sikha Padan Samadhyami, मुसावादा वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि सुरा मेरे मज्जपमा दट्ठाना वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि. अगर ये if you apply these 5 theories in your own life, then you can live very peacefully and very happily. आप जानते हैं कि इसके बाद धम्म पद में आता है न हि वेरे न वेरानि सम्मन्ति द कुदाचनं अवेरे न च सम्मन्ति एष धम्मो सनातनो. Hatred never ceases by hatred, hatred ceases by love. वैर से वैर कभी शांति नहीं होता. इसलिए आप अगर किसी आपको वैर करते हैं, अगर आप उनको मैत्री करेगा तो वहाँ पर कोई घटना नहीं हो सकता है. और आज जो दुनिया में जो युद्ध है वह भी वैर के कारण है. और जिसे आप कह सकते हैं अदिन्नादाना वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि. दूसरे के चीज़ को आप उसको ज़बरदस्ती नहीं लेना चाहिए. हम जैसे आपका चीज़ अगर कोई चोरी करे तो आपको दुख होगा, लेकिन उसी तरह दूसरे की चीज़ आप भी नहीं करना चाहिए. इस तरह से जाएंगे तो विश्व में शांति बना रहेगा. मेरे ख्याल से आप सब लोग आज समय बहुत काफ़ी हो गया है और 8 भी बज चुके हैं, तो मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि मेरा जो कीनोट स्पीच कम करेगा तो आप लोग बहुत खुश हो जाएगा. मेरा विचार है ये धर्म धम्म कॉन्फ्रेंस जो है 2-3 साल में एक बार नहीं बल्कि हर साल करेंगे तो विश्व को शांति दे सकता है. जैसे कि मोदी जी ने मैं कहा है मुझे युद्ध की नहीं बल्कि बुद्ध की ज़रूरत है. इसलिए आप और इंडिया फाउंडेशन से और स्पेशली मैं राम माधव जी से निवेदन करते हैं कि हर साल ये धर्म धम्म कॉन्फ्रेंस को कहीं ना कहीं भारत के किसी भी तरह और एक बार दोबारा श्रीलंका में करने के लिए उनको मैं आमंत्रित करते हुए आपसे विदा लेते हैं. धन्यवाद. नमस्कार.
Thank you very much, Most Reverend. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to end the sessions for the day, and there will be a short cultural program that will be presented to us by artists from this city. So I would like to thank once again the 3 eminent and enlightened speakers who have really given us what we needed as a foundation to develop this conference into its higher potential. And once again, I will thank you all for being patient and attentive listeners. Thank you.
I now request Dr. Rajiv Bhatt to please propose a vote of thanks. Sir.
Namaskar. A pleasant and graceful good evening to our most valued Honorable Chief Guest, Param Pujya Swami Shri Govinda Devgiri Ji Maharaj, Treasurer Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust, dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries in front of the dais, invited worthy speakers, teachers and students of philosophy from India and rest of the world, and everyone gathered here. Namaskar again. It is my privilege to deliver a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard to make this first Professor Siddheshwar Rameshwar Bhatt Memorial Lecture by India Foundation happen today on 23rd August 2024, Bhadrapad Krishna Chaturthi, during 8th International DHARMA DHAMMA Conference at Ahmedabad, Gujarat, on the premises of Gujarat University. I, Rajiv Bhatt, son of Professor Siddheshwar Rameshwar Bhatt, am proposing this vote of thanks on behalf of Mrs. Annapurna Bhatt, wife of Professor Siddheshwar Rameshwar Bhatt, rest of the Bhatt family, India Foundation, and the entire student and friends fraternity of Professor Siddheshwar Rameshwar Bhatt. First of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God and my Pitras for making today's event a resounding success. With their blessings and grace, we are able to make this event what it is. On behalf of organizers India Foundation, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest, Param Pujya Swami Shri Govinda Dev Giriji Maharaj, Treasurer Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust, who spared time from his busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Sir, today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and have shown us a new path. My gratitude to Swami Brahma Vihari Das, BAPS Swami Narayan Sansthan, India, and Venerable Banagala Thero, President, Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka, for gracing the occasion and sharing their opinions today. I am immensely thankful to Mr. Carpentier, Distinguished Fellow, India Foundation, France, for his efforts toward anchoring today. His own ideas and elegance of explanation of everything, I need to mention my deepest sense of appreciation. I also extend thanks to all the staff members of India Foundation for their enormous cooperation within the organization of this gala event. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels starts rolling weeks ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye for detail. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very proactive and dedicated staff of India Foundation who are well versed in their job. I am short of words for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. A special mention to our President, respected President of India Foundation, Mr. Ram Maghavji, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillar of strength. With a deep sense of appreciation, we thank our loving Ram Madhavji for his untiring efforts. On behalf of the organizers, India Foundation, let me thank Vice Chancellor, Professor Nirja Gupta and Gujarat University, a temple of learning, for providing the infrastructure facility. Gujarat University is not only good at academics, but also in extracurricular activities. We have enjoyed every moment of our stay in this temple of learning. I would like to thank the people who worked behind the scene to make this event, like our technical support team. Our sincere gratitude goes to all friends and well-wishers for their rock-solid support system and encouragement. Without your support, we may not be able to achieve excellence. Thank you so much for attending the event. Last but not the least, a big thank you to each one of you who have attended this first Professor Siddheshwar Rameshwar Bhatt Memorial Day and made this celebration memorable for all of us. Thank you once again. Jai Hind.
So now we close this keynote session and today's all the sessions. Few important, Honorable Minister from Sri Lanka wants to felicitate Swami Govinda Maharaj Ji. Now few important administrative announcements also. The venue for next 2 days of the conference will be Atal Kalam Research Park in the Gujarat University campus. the same venue where all of you had lunch today. So that will be our conference venue for next 2 days of all the proceedings. Tomorrow morning, we will start with the paper presentation sessions in the morning from 9 to 10:30. So request all the paper presenters who are here to please be on time. The third announcement is related to reimbursement. So reimbursement of all paper presenters will be done tomorrow evening and on the third day. Please, all of you, please enjoy the dinner now. Thank you.